Good afternoon, everybody. Fergus Dolan here from NALA, the National Adult Literacy Agency. We're delighted to have you here for today's webinar on family literacy practices and ideas. And our facilitator today is Maria Kennedy. Maria is the homeschool community liaison with Warrenmount Primary School in Dublin. So, my colleague Derv Ryan is also going to be helping me with organising the webinar. So I'll hand you over to Maria. All the best, Maria.
Great, thanks, Fergus. So I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me for a second, guys.
Cool. Listen, I'll talk to you. Bye.
Yeah, that's come up, Maria. That's good.
Yep, perfect. So so we can see that, Fergus. Yeah, great. Okay.
Yes.
Super. We'll get going. So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for attending the workshop today. So we're going to have a little chat for about an hour or maybe a bit less about the family literacy practices that I'm undertaking in my school and some tips on homeschool links as well. So just to run through the outline of the workshop. So we're going to do just a quick introductions thing now in a minute. And then we're going to just talk around my research and other research in the area of mostly family learning and family literacy. Then we're going to do a couple of little discussions, which you can do online here on Jamboard, which I'll explain in a few minutes, and then a quick conclusion. So yeah, I'd say we'll be about 50 minutes if that's all right with everybody. Okay, so just to introduce myself. So my name is Maria Kennedy, and I'm a homeschool community liaison in a DEIS Band 1 inner city school here in Dublin 8. So we are a vertical primary school from early start up to 6th class. We have boys up until 3rd class. We're in the process of going mixed the whole way to 6th class at the moment. We have about 50% of our kids speak English as an additional language. And we have children that speak 29 different languages in our schools. So yeah, it's an amazing place to work. So like I said, I work as homeschool community liaison. I taught infants for 7 years before I started in this job. So for those of you who don't know what a homeschool liaison is, the main, I suppose, aims of the homeschool liaison scheme are to promote positive partnerships and communication between all elements of the children's life. So it would be the home and the school, and to raise awareness in parents of their capability to support their children in their education, and also to facilitate parents in this as well. So it's full-time role in DEIS Band 1 schools. So I'm based just in my own school. I'm not shared with any other school. I am also a 4th year doctorate in education candidate in Trinity College, Dublin. So it's my 4th and final year, hopefully, in the doctorate. So I am going to talk a little bit about my research as we go along the webinar today. Yeah, great. So we are going to just a quick introduction. I won't make anyone turn on their camera or talk because I know how annoying that is in a webinar. So I'm just going to pop a link for a Jamboard into the chat. So I don't know if people have used Jamboard before, but I'm just going to pop the link in here and explain to you how that's going to work. So hopefully that's gone to everybody. So what would happen is you would press on the link, and the first slide, we're going to be using this a couple of times today, so I'll just go through a minute, just give a minute going through it at the start. So the first slide would look like this when you open it. Yes, there's a few up there in the corner. Great. So we're just going to type in, you don't have to put your name or anything like that. It's anonymous, or you can if you want, but we're just going to put in our roles. So if you come over here to the left-hand side, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the left-hand side, the 4th icon down is a little sticky note. So if you press the sticky note and just type in your roles. So I've put in HSCL there, that's me. So if you just take a minute to just type in your role or your institution there, just so we can have an idea of who is on the webinar. Thanks. Great. I just pull them here so they'll all be. Yes, great. Lovely. Brilliant. Okay, so we've got a good mix of professions here. That's great. So we've got 3 other homeschool liaisons, or maybe 2 myself. That's super. We've got a library assistant, Dublin City Libraries, very welcome. A regional literacy coordinator, fantastic. An outreach worker with NALA. A senior library assistant, Dublin City Libraries, brilliant. An adult literacy tutor. Literacy development worker with NALA. Family learning and core skills resource worker in the LCETB, brilliant. And 2 family support workers. Okay, super. I think that's probably everybody. So you're going to keep that link for the rest of the webinar as well. We'll be using it a little bit later as we go on. So I'm just going to pop back up my presentation now. Thank you all for your input. That's a great start. Super. Okay, so I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about my research that I'm undergoing for the doctorate, which is also really linked with my work as homeschool community liaison as well, and which will be relevant to most of you here, well, all of you hopefully here today, as it's related to family literacy. So my 3 main research interests are homeschool links, family literacy, and educational disadvantage, and kind of how the 3 of those can come together for us to get the best outcomes for the kids and for the parents. So I suppose family literacy, for the purpose of this webinar, is probably the most important one to focus on. So my real interest is in children's literacy development in the emergent language and literacy phase, and how family literacy practices can support that. So as we go on, I'll explain to you how I've implemented those, in particular in the early start and junior infant classes in the school here. And I suppose the educational disadvantage part, so my research looks at educational disadvantage and kind of tries to challenge the deficit viewpoint, and the viewpoint that that these families are at a disadvantage, and kind of it's more of a solution focused and solution based project that I did. So kind of empowering parents to be active agents in their own child's literacy development, and to kind of give them the resources and the tools which they already have, but just to raise awareness in those resources and tools that the parents have themselves to promote family literacy practices in the home. So yeah, so it's kind of a solution based or a solution focused based project. Great. So the name of the research that I'm undertaking, the title at the moment, which changes very often, but the title at the moment is Exploring the Contribution that Parent Expert Groups in a DEIS Primary School make to developing workshops which aim to promote family learning, homeschool links, and parental confidence. And it's partially sponsored by the INTO and the Teaching Council. So the rationale for the study, why did I decide to take this on? Sometimes I ask myself this question, but here we are, nearly finished. So I suppose the first rationale was personal motivation. So like I said, I've been working in this school in the inner city for the past 9 years. So I've really got to know and become very close with the school community, and just really enjoyed working with the parents. So it was kind of for the school, I suppose, from the school perspective, we wanted to run something nice for parents after COVID, to get parents back into the school, to get that kind of buzz back into the school, to get parents to feel as if they were welcome, their input was welcome, and as well to get the importance of those family literacy practices back out into the community as well, after things like that slid a little bit during COVID, we found. So I undertook a master's in Trinity College in 2018 on home literacy environments in the infant classrooms, and that just brought back some really interesting data that some parents were doing these family literacy practices, but they weren't really naming them as that. So we're kind of just giving them I suppose the awareness that they did have these resources and tools. It was just how best to use them. So yeah, and then I suppose another huge rationale for the study was there's great research being done in Ireland and abroad on family literacy, and that has been published, but there is very little published in the area of the homeschool liaison. So there's very little out there to be read about the role of the homeschool liaison, and a lot of people actually don't really know what the role entails, myself included, before I started, to be honest. So hopefully when this work is finished, it'll be published and it'll be just kind of put out there, and the role of the homeschool will be kind of, I suppose, sent out to the wider world. So that's just the rationale for the study. Okay, so the research questions then, and this is the boring part, we'll get to the practical part after this, but just to give you an idea of what the research and the project was based around. So the first research question is, what home literacy practices do parents from this area of socioeconomic disadvantage identify as being valuable? According to parents in this deaf school setting, how can other parents in this setting be best supported in developing family literacy practices? Can workshops designed by parents increase confidence in other parents when scaffolding their children's learning? And finally, in what ways can this collaborative process promote homeschool links and foster positive partnerships between the home and the school environments? So that's kind of the general ideas that this project was based around. Okay, just a very, very, very quick kind of background on the research in the area. So my project was based on the research of the Russian psychologist Uri Bronfenbrenner. So you can see his theory is over here to the right-hand side of the screen. So it's a nested system theory where it looks at the importance of the interactions of basically all the people in a child's life, and how the context that a child is living in and is going to school in is really important, and the interactions between those contexts. So the one that we look at mostly from a homeschool liaison perspective is obviously the interaction between the home and the school and the child, obviously. So these interactions are so important all the way from early childhood up to up to adult education, really. The interactions between the educational institution and the family are just really, really important. So that's the kind of underpinning for my research, and it's a good one to just think about in general. If that diagram kind of stuck in your head of the importance of everybody kind of working together for the best outcomes for the child or the adult in adult education circumstances. So just a couple of other little bits of research or of kind of theory behind the project here as well. So the homeschool liaison scheme is a solution focused scheme building on the strengths of parents and carers through empowerment and capacity building. And I just think that's just a lovely quote to kind of sum it up. And the important words there, I suppose, are solution focused, empowerment and capacity building. So it's just raising awareness in parents and in guardians and anybody else that's the salient adult in a child's life, in how they can best support their child in particular, I suppose, their literacy practices for this. And as I should have said at the start of the webinar, I'm going to say the word parents just for the ease of talking today, but obviously we're all aware that in a child's life it could be guardians or grandparents or carers or anybody else, but I'm just going to say parents just so I don't lose my breath during this webinar. And I suppose the final piece of theory or research that we'll look at here is, without family involvement, intervention is likely to be unsuccessful. So in particular, in the emergent language and literacy phase, the importance of involving parents and guardians and everybody else and families as a whole in child's education is just invaluable, really. So we get into what actually happened during this initiative or this this piece of research. So my research aims to foster family literacy practices, in particular families with children in the emergent language and literacy phase. So in this case, it was in early start and junior infants, and aims to promote parental engagement in emergent language and literacy development. So the very first step of the research was in November 21, I met with a group of first class parents who we called the Parent Expert Group. So these parents had obviously been through early start in some, their kids have been through early start in some situations, and all of their kids have been through junior infants. And we met to generate ideas around what could support parents of children in junior infant and early start classes at that time. So the kids would have been 2 years younger than these parents' children. So we met for a focus group because obviously it is research that has been carried out. So it was a structured focus group. And we talked about their pre-existing family literacy practices that they were already doing in their homes, these parents of first class children. We talked about the barriers to engaging in these practices in the home. We talked about homeschool links. We talked about kind of ways that the school could support families in engaging in family literacy practices. And we just kind of brainstormed all these ideas together with the aim of putting these ideas together to form a workshop schedule for the junior infant and early start parents. So every child in first class got an invitation for their parents. So there was about 40-ish parents were invited. 6 attended the focus group. We had 5 mums and 1 dad. We had 4 parents who spoke English as their first language, 1 who spoke Punjabi as their first language, and 1 who spoke Arabic as her first language. We had 5 parents from the mainstream class in the school, the mainstream first class, and we had 1 parent who had a child in our ASD class in the school. So there was a real, it was really representative, I suppose, of the school population. So that was obviously good to get their opinions. So the focus of it was that they were going to be designing this workshop schedule for the parents of the children in junior infants and early start, like I said. So they were active agents in this research, and they were empowered to kind of give their ideas, and we were coming together then to make the workshop schedule. So it was a really nice way of involving them and ensuring that they felt that their voice was heard and that they were kind of co-developers in this workshop schedule. So yeah, so we spoke for about 2 hours. We came up with all these ideas. I went away and transcribed the focus group and analysed it and put together the ideas into a couple of different kind of themes. Emergent themes kept coming up. Similar things that all the parents agreed on kept coming up. So, and obviously there was other things as well, but I put them together into a 4-week workshop schedule and then ran that by the parent expert group again. So when we were all happy with the schedule, then we arranged for the junior infant and early start parents to come in May 22. Yeah, May 22. So a couple of months later for the family literacy program. So before we get on to what the family literacy program involved, I'm just going to really quickly go through kind of the methods that got us to there. So because again, it's for this was undertaken for the purpose of doctoral research, there was some research methods used, and they're outlined here. So it was qualitative research, which means it was the opinions and the values of the participants that was important, not figures or statistics or anything like that. So we had the focus group, which I've spoken about. That was the parent expert group, which came in and gave me all their ideas about what to put into the workshops. Then before we started the workshops, I interviewed 8 parents before the workshops and another 8, so 16 in total, after the workshops. And they just kind of gave me some ideas about how they were feeling about their family literacy practices at the moment and what could be helped before the workshops, and then after the workshops, what they gained and what their kids gained. I took some notes throughout the workshop process, just kind of for my own reflection, and then we took some unidentifiable photographs, which we'll see in a couple of slides on. Great, okay, so the workshop overview then, when I took the ideas of all of the participants of the parent expert group and put them together, we came up with 4 themes. So the first theme was family literacy in the environment. The second one was family literacy in the kitchen. We then had shared reading experiences and a library visit. So I'm just going to briefly talk you through what each session involved. And this might be something that might be, you might be able to adapt yourself for your own institutions. So the first one was family literacy in the environment. So we all put on our high-vis jackets and we walked to the local park. We went to St. Patrick's Park here. We did a scavenger hunt in the park. So it was a literacy-based scavenger hunt. So each family got a scavenger hunt kind of template, and on it were different ideas for things that they could do when they were out and about with their kids. So in this particular instance, it was based on this park. At this time, I went down the day before and I looked for things that we could include. But they were kind of ideas that were transferable and that you could use in any situation. So it could have been, find something that is green that begins with the sound t or something like that. So a tree, obviously, or there were different little things like that. We played games such as I Spy and Simon Says as well, based on our walk down and back from the park. And we also focused on oral retelling. So the kids told the stories of what they had done in the park on the way back up as well. So it was all based around kind of that language and literacy development and kind of how the family could make, you know, the time in the park or the walk to the shop or whatever a little bit more fun and a little bit more structured. The second one was family literacy in the kitchen. So we are very lucky here in the school that we have an art room that has ovens and it's kind of used as a baking room. So we had the facilities, which was brilliant. So the parents and their kids came in for the second week and we made literacy cookies. So every child, the ingredients were all weighed out for the kids and they got a method sheet, a pictorial method sheet, and they mixed all their ingredients and made their dough for the literacy cookies. And then they had an alphabet mat and they formed the cookie dough into the letters for their names. So they all spelled their names using the cookie dough. So again, we used transferable kind of games like Simon Says and I Spy. We focused on questioning. I modeled some questioning and we kind of looked for print in the environment. So that one went really well and the kitchen didn't burn down and nothing bad happened. So that was good. The shared reading experience, then the parents and their children came into the school PE hall and we all got a copy of We're Going on a Bear Hunt and a little folder. And inside the folder there were little puppets, the characters from the story on lollipop sticks to make little puppets. There were sequencing cards and there was a sheet kind of outlining different activities that could be done in the home or in the shared reading activity. So there were QR codes for animations, different things like that. And again, I modeled the lesson or the activity from the stage in the hall at the start, and then the parents kind of worked away from then after that. And then the last one was the library visit. So we visited Kevin Street Library here, just down the road from us, and we went down for a shared reading experience as well. And then we all signed up for library cards, and everybody took out books that day. So what was really lovely about that was it was really beneficial for the parents kind of independently as well. So one parent actually took out a book to help her study for her driver theory test and passed it the other day. So that was really good for her. Another parent took out books in her own language, adult books in her own language. So that was really good. And yeah, so there was a couple of different workshops and stuff that were happening down there that parents became aware of. So it was just really nice to get them out and about and into the library. So yeah, we had the 4-week schedule, and then also we kind of kept these ideas in our head for the 4 weeks as well. So these were the key concepts that the parents from the parent expert group came up with as to what they thought should be developed in the workshop program for the parents and children in junior infants and early start. So the green ones are the desired parent outcomes or concepts, sorry. So they felt as if parents should be encouraged to encourage their child efforts to make learning fun, to base their activities on their child's interests, that they should be open to their child's lead, and that they should be flexible. And they kind of said that if the parent concepts weren't developed, it would be difficult for the children's concepts to be developed. So the children concepts that they outlined, not so much in these words, but just for the sake of the research, they were defined as rhyme, oral retelling, blending and segmenting, listening skills, phonological awareness, predicting, and early print concepts. So we kind of kept those at the back of our head for the 4 weeks as well. So, like I said, before the interviews, before the workshops, I interviewed 8 parents. So they had children in early start and junior infants, and then 2 of the parents actually had 1 child in early start and 1 child in junior infants. So they were parents in both of the classes. So the questions centered around the reasons that they joined the workshops, what they hope to gain from the workshop, what they hope their child would gain from the workshops, their pre-existing literacy practices that they were already undertaken in their homes or in their environments, their barriers to engagement in the school, and homeschool links. So these are just a couple of things that came up during the interviews. So You can have a quick read of them yourselves. We'll just pick out a few of them. So reasons that you joined. He, the child, came home and was so excited about it. He wanted both his father and I to do it with him and asked if we could do it as a family. I wanted to get more involved with her to see how she was getting. Sorry, I wanted to get more involved with her to see how she was going to build on all of this in school. And I think it's a great thing to do. I've never done something like this before. I joined the workshops for a selfish reason, really. It's for me. It's time where I can go outside the school and talk to parents and to you. To be honest, it's mostly for selfish reasons. So I thought that was a really interesting one. And that parent actually in the post-workshop interviews really reflected that she had made some good friends and that she felt that she was part of the school community now. So that was an amazing outcome, obviously. I'd like to get to know other parents and to talk about challenges I'm facing as a parent to others. And that was a parent of a child with a special educational need. So that was nice as well. There was a community of parents formed who had similar barriers and challenges at home. So it was obviously a great outcome as well. And then just the other ones I want to take part. For me, it's nice to be able to have concentrated time with him where he gets to do something fun at school and will hopefully make his experience in school more fun. And that was actually a parent of a child with additional needs, and this child in junior infants was a sibling. So she was saying that this concentrated time with the sibling would be nice because naturally enough, some of the time at home and some of the time in school was being concentrated on the child with additional needs. So she felt like this was a nice opportunity for them to engage, just the two of them. And then it's the last two. I think that the kids will feel as if I'm involved, if I'm there, and also it's for me as well. I want to get to know how they act in school because it's a completely different environment from the home. And then when asked about confidence, one parent said, I would say my confidence would be between a 3 and a 4 out of 5. I obviously think we can always improve. For me, I'm fascinated to see how they are taught. They were just some of the ideas before we got stuck into the interviews. So just a couple of pictures from our workshops then. So I had hoped for about 10 parents to engage. There were about 35 parents in junior infants and about 15 in early start. So I'd hoped for around 10 and ended up getting 27 families that started and finished the program. So it was just amazing. Really surpassed all the expectations here in the school. But we had 27 families. We had about 7 dads. We had a grandparent, and then we had some siblings involved in the workshop as well. So that was amazing. We had parents from 11 different languages, and most parents, although they didn't speak English as their first language, had a level of English that they felt was that allowed them to engage in the workshop successfully. However, there was one group of parents who didn't feel like they had a level of English to engage 100% in the workshops. So they spoke Arabic as their first language. And one of the members of the parent expert group, so the group that we spoke about a few minutes ago that came up with the ideas for the workshop, she spoke Arabic and English. So she actually worked as a translator for the 4 weeks. So I delivered the workshop in English, and then she delivered it in Arabic to the group of parents who didn't speak English as their first language. So that was amazing. That really formed a really nice community, and it allowed, kind of broke down that barrier and allowed all the parents to be part of the workshops. In fairness, most of it was there was pictorial aids for most of it. The library visit she translated from between the library worker and between the group that were speaking Arabic. And then for the shared reading session, she actually translated We're Going on a Bear Hunt into Arabic for me. So yeah, that was amazing as well. So yeah, like I said, the engagement was really high, and the fact that the retention stayed high as well. So all of the parents, apart from one who had an appointment on the last day, finished the full set of workshops. So that was, yeah, that was a huge achievement. So just a couple of different pictures there from what we got up to. So you can see the literacy in the park over on the left, kind of looking at the environmental print. Then there was the literacy in the kitchen in the middle, and just the setup up at the top with the little alphabet mat and the methodology page, the procedures. And then we had our shared reading experience there in the middle, where the kids used their puppets to read to their teddies, and then and the sequencing cards up there actually in the top right hand corner as well, and then the library visit on the bottom. So the preliminary findings then. So I suppose from the school's perspective, it was a really positive experience, both from, I suppose, from my own personal perspective and also from the perspective of the junior infant and early start teachers. So the parents got involved. They felt very welcome in the school. They felt as if, you know, the barriers that were there before COVID were kind of, I suppose, were reduced anyway. So it was in May last year. So the restrictions had kind of eased in April. So it was the first time that the parents had even been inside the door ever in the school, actually. So that was cool. We felt as a staff that there was an increased awareness of the importance of family literacy. We actually got rid of homework in the school for juniors, seniors, first and second this year, and we're encouraging just family literacy practices and kind of coupling numeracy practices as well, but that's not my forte, so I'm not 100% sure what's happening there. But the family literacy practices in the school are really heightened. We are running book blitz, we're doing shared reading activities, and that's just a really positive outcome from the school's perspective. And it was a real boost for the staff as well to see how many parents actually were interested and came in and retained for the whole programme. From a parent's perspective, there was a lot of benefits as well that we found from the post-workshop interviews. So some parents reported using the techniques that they had learned in the workshops over the summer. So one mother told me that they went to Poland during the summer to visit her family, and they had done a scavenger hunt similar to the one that we had done here in Dublin 8 in Poland. So we're on international now. A lot of parents reported, and you'll see them there in the findings, that they didn't even know the library was there in Kevin Street. So I don't know if the the participants on the call here today are aware, but Kevin Street Library is under construction, or around the library is under construction at the moment. And some of the parents didn't actually know it was there because they just thought it was a construction site kind of around. So that was brilliant as well. So they all got signed up and they all got a library card, both the kids and the parents. So that was a good outcome as well. The parents of the expert group really reported that they loved the fact that their voice was, or their opinions were used in creating something for other parents, and they really felt empowered. And actually, they kind of acted as canvassers in the yard in the morning before the workshop. They were going out saying, I was part of this and I helped design this, and I think it would be helpful for you, or so that was really good. All of those parents now are actually on our Parents Association as well, so that really has kind of developed leadership capacity within the parents themselves as well. Yeah, I suppose the culture of parents helping other parents has kind of been heightened as well, and there's little communities starting to form, and friendships starting to form as well, so that's really good. I kind of overheard on a couple of instances when we were walking to the various places, there was little play dates been organised and stuff like that as well. So it really strengthened the community here in the school as well. It's just a couple of bits then from the interviews, little snippets here. I really enjoyed everything. I enjoyed spending time with my daughter. I know what's happening in school. It was nice to mix with other parents. I didn't know there was a library there. I did the reading in the school, and it showed how the family can work together. So some of the parents reported, that they kind of, they provided books for their kids, but they didn't really realize the benefits or the importance of actually sitting down and spending the time reading them with the kids, or, using their little techniques that they learned in the workshops. I think it's important to come in and to let her know that we're willing to come in and do something for her. So that was actually a really important finding as well. A lot of the parents reported that one of the main reasons they came in was that their child would know that their education was valued, and that their parents valued, coming into the school, building up the relationships with the staff and being part of the school community. So obviously there was a huge uptake, I suppose, in the strength of the homeschool links there as well, which was a brilliant finding. Let me see. I thought it was brilliant, I have to say. I loved it as well, and she loved me coming in for her. I think it was really cool that we got to be included in the school and to see what they do and to see what the inside is like and how they are in school. That was great. I enjoyed everything. You know, the kids were happy to see their parents around the school again. And I just like what the school is doing to involve parents in the education system in this place, you know, and the friendship of the teachers and the parents is nice. And then one of the parents said that which one was it, said that she hadn't done something like this before. And that was interesting because she actually had 3 older girls that had gone through the school, but she had never been involved in a literacy project with the kids in the school. So that was obviously very, very beneficial to her as well. So to reflect then what worked and what didn't work. I think for the number of participants that engaged, a huge draw on that was I did a video invitation on the school app, Class Dojo. So I just took a video of myself talking about the project and what was going to be involved, you know, the 4 weeks of the workshops, when they were going to be, what time they were going to be at. And it just kind of broke down that barrier for the parents who didn't read English. That app, Class Dojo, actually does translations into every language as well. So even those that did still have that barrier could just translate on the app. So that was brilliant. I think the involvement of the parent expert group to design the workshop program and to motivate others was really beneficial as well, because it really allowed for you know, the parents to feel valued and empowered in the process. So I think that was beneficial as well, and it was a learner-centered approach. The children being present at the workshop was definitely a huge thing. I know that's not always possible, and you know, in particular when it's adult learning experiences, it can be very difficult to have the children involved, but it really did, I think it kind of supported the parents in, you know, that they didn't feel as if they had to know their parents that were attending because they had their child there with them. And by the end of the workshop, you know, they were all mingling, but at the start it was a little bit more difficult for parents, I think, that didn't know other parents. The translator parent was invaluable. She was absolutely unbelievable. It wouldn't really have worked without her, to be honest. So that was a huge plus as well. The post-COVID thing, you know, the parents hadn't been in. So I think involving them and getting them in after COVID, you know, everyone was just delighted to get back in. So that really, it felt a good time, and really it was pushed back due to COVID, and that had its own challenges. But I think in the end, it actually did work out because it really got people back involved. At the end of each session, there were resources. So by the end of the 4 weeks, the parents had a little folder of resources and tips and tricks that they could use at home. They also had a copy of a book, and they had all the resources to go with that, and a library card. So I think that was useful, that it was actually something concrete to leave every session with. The use of the NALA plain English guidelines was obviously essential as well. And I think there's a variety in the sessions, that, you know, 1 week was the park, 1 week was the library. It wasn't all just coming in and sitting here and kind of, you know, all in school based. Another huge thing that helped that I didn't write there was we facilitated for babies to come to the sessions. So a lot of our parents, in particular, parents of children in the younger classes, have younger kids, obviously, and it's a huge barrier for parents in attending courses if they can't get childminding. So we had a lot of buggies and a lot of babies, which meant we had to hold up the road a couple of times when we were going places. But yeah, I think that really did kind of facilitate people in attending the workshops as well. What didn't work, you know, good complaint to have, but there was too many people at each session. In the shared reading session, there was like 50 of us between the parents and the kids. So it was just a lot. But look, it's a good complaint to have. I suppose it could have extended a little bit longer, but I was conscious as well that sometimes when these programs are too long, you know, the engagement can kind of flop off in the middle. So yeah, so that was, yeah, it probably could have been a bit longer though. And then there was a last minute change to the timetable 1 week, which really wasn't suitable for parents who were working, but we worked around it. I think another thing actually that did work was the time of the year that it was ran. So it was in May, and there was a real focus around kind of transitions. So the early start transition to junior infants, and the junior infant transition to senior infants, and what you could do over the summer to kind of prepare the kids for those transitions. So I think it was a good time of the year to run it in that way. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now, and we're going to go back to Jamboard. So we're going to look at questions. It says form, it's supposed to say from the perspective of 2 potential learners. So we're going to look at recruitment and retention, and we're just going to share some of our knowledge here because I'm sure there's a wealth of knowledge in the room. So we're going to head back to the the Jamboard to the second slide. I'll share it here now as well. And I'm going to read two character profiles for you. So we're going to look at how we can best recruit and encourage learners to attend our courses and initiatives. We're going to look at it from two different perspectives. So I've got about 5 or 6 questions here, and I don't think we'll get through them all at this stage, but we'll do a couple of them anyway. So the first persona that we're going to think about is Kelly. Okay, so Kelly has 4 children ranging in ages from 6 months to 14 years old. I am a single mum. I left school when I was about 16. I didn't like school. I had problems with learning, and I don't think that I got the help I needed. I'm relying on my sister and my 14-year-old daughter to help my children in primary school, but I'd rather be able to help them myself. Okay, so I'm Kelly. I've got 4 children ranging from 6 months to 14 years old. I'm a single mum. I left school when I was 16. I didn't like school, and I had problems with learning, and I don't think I got the help I needed. I'm relying on my sister and my 14-year-old daughter to help my children in primary school, but I'd rather be able to help them myself. So if we go back to our sticky notes again and keep to the left-hand side of the screen, can we think of our best ways or any ways that we could recruit or encourage Kelly to attend courses and initiatives in our institutions? So you can just put your ideas in sticky notes, if that's okay, if everybody's still awake. So yeah, any ideas that anybody might have? I hope it's working okay. And I apologize if there's noises in the background. I'm in school and it's infant home time, so there could be a couple of noises in the background. Is that working okay? So ideas how we could recruit or encourage Kelly to attend our courses or initiatives. So, you know, any ideas around building relationships with Kelly or supports we could offer, you know, any of those barriers that we have to overcome. If anyone wants to speak instead of typing, that's also okay. Great, thank you for the first person who got the ball rolling. So reassure her that there will be other parents in the same boat, absolutely. Build a good relationship, connection, and that's the foundation of it all, really. You know, you have to have those relationships before we get people into our institutions, absolutely. Thank you for that. So find out your interests and build workshops on those: cooking, music, art. Yeah, brilliant. So to take her interest into account. Yeah, amazing. Brilliant. Super. Help with childcare for the family if needed during the program time, and ensure her that all literacy techniques will be modelled so parents will not have to read aloud to groups. Yeah, brilliant. Use workshops like art, etc., and get them in the door to build literacy into them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to get people inside the door first. Maybe have a parent and toddler group in the school first to make her feel at home. Brilliant. Find a way to link in or involve her other children so she's not just relying on the eldest and the sister to help. Brilliant. Start with nice courses for self-development like yoga, mindfulness. Brilliant. Okay, super. We were going to do 2 characters, but the time's actually flown, so we'll just stay going with Kelly if that's okay with everyone. Build on her strengths. Super. Okay, we're going to go to our next question. So the next slide over, I've changed it here, so I'm not sure if you guys have to change it on yours. What challenges do we face in recruiting Kelly? We'll forget about Jimmy. We don't have time for that one. So what challenges do we face in recruiting Kelly? So why might it be difficult for Kelly to join some of our initiatives, or what kind of challenges would she face or would we face and we try to overcome? Childcare, definitely a huge one, yeah. Any other ones? Fear, previous bad experiences, yeah, definitely of skill and education. We find that quite often. Out of her comfort zone and her confidence, definitely, yeah. And these are all things, I suppose, that, you know, transport, yeah. That building those relationships will really really benefit as well. Finding time to attend, especially if she's working. She might not be able to attend each session, sick children, and then might be put off returning to school. Brilliant. Her self-esteem and confidence, super. Sound like she may have low literacy level, which would make her feel uncomfortable. Brilliant. Okay, so if we're done with that one, how can we attempt to overcome these challenges? So how can we support Kelly in overcoming these challenges? What kind of things can our institutions do to engage her and to help her to overcome these challenges? Let's put those down at the bottom. And sorry, thanks, Edel, in the chat box. So connect with somebody who's participating in similar background. Yeah, perfect. Encourage her to bring her younger children with her. Brilliant. And I suppose to have facilities for that and personnel as well, which can be hard, but it's also hard, I suppose, if we don't provide those. Any other ones? Provide transport, yeah, very practical one. Ask her advice on how to engage other parents and acknowledge and appreciate her experience, definitely. Ask a mother who has previously done the course to talk to her about how beneficial it was, support her childcare needs, open the parents' room in the morning for tea and coffee so that she can start to feel comfortable. Brilliant, yeah. And a local location, yeah. And sometimes a neutral location can be good too. Sometimes parents are kind of, you know, turned away from coming into the school sometimes, so a neutral location can also be helpful. Flexibility around attendance, sending an additional tax can be done when she missed the session. Brilliant, yeah. Okay, we'll do one more. And our last question. So how can we make sure that we retain our learners in our initiative? So it's one thing to get them in, one thing, you know, to get the idea out there, but how do you make sure that the learners come week after week where possible? Any ideas on how we can keep people engaged? So that's Jamboard number 4. Yeah. Send reminders, keep the contact up, definitely. Yeah. I find WhatsApp voice notes really, really useful because people obviously that have literacy issues, and yeah, they're just really good. So I don't know if anybody else uses them, but they're brilliant. Any other ideas? Yeah. Building a good relationship and keeping lines of communication open afterwards. Yeah. Have a celebration session. That's a lovely idea. Yeah, like a little graduation. We actually did that after this as well. Just printed out a little certificate and laminated it, and yeah, it's a sense of achievement. So they're valued in the school environment. Take a moment to talk to the attendees so they make a connection with you. Definitely, yeah. Make that a little bit more personal, I suppose. Yeah. Recognize achievements, certificates of attendance. Yeah, brilliant. On the same page. Well done. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm gonna finish sharing that one. Just head back to the slideshow just for a second. Bear with me, and we're nearly there. Now, so just to finish up, then we've gone through a couple of our scenarios. Yep. So finally, then, just thank you to everybody who attended today. Thank you to Fergus and to Derv for inviting me to speak today. I hope everybody took away even one little bit. I always think if you come to these things and take one thing that you might do away with you, then it's a success. So yeah, thank you to everyone for tuning in. If anyone wanted any follow-up information or anything like that, my email address is there. So it's homeschoolcommitteeliaison@warrenmanprimary.com. And yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to ask them now or to email them on. And yeah, just thanks again to Nala for giving me this opportunity.
Thanks, Maria. That was really great. So many good ideas there from you, and then the sticky notes worked really well. Lots of good ideas there on, you know, the voice notes and how to, when you get those parents that are maybe hard to reach, how to keep them engaged, keep them in. I like the suggestions coming through there. So that was great. If anyone has any questions, just unmute and ask Maria now, I suggest. I like the video invitation idea too, because if the parent doesn't read or write in English, and the translator parent thing was great as well. So yeah, that just leaves me to say thanks very much, Maria, and thanks very much for last week. You were a fantastic speaker and workshop facilitator at the conference. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks Derv for helping. So yeah, I think we leave it there. Bye bye everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.